Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Social Liability Podcast, a podcast where two middle aged men sit around and complain about how people violate the social contract we all have agreed to live by. I'm your host, the Razgriz, with my co host, the Buck Grundle, as we discuss in this week's episode buying a car. I have not ever had a happy experience buying a car, Buck.
I really have never not no, I just no. No, buying a car has never been pleasant. I can't even put a positive spin on that.
Essentially, you're going into a building where everything's already stacked against you to begin with, where even the way the tables are set up are designed to manipulate you in some way. And we're running into where we have people trying to get you to sign a piece of paper and hand over however many thousands of dollars so they can give you, in most cases, let's say you're buying a used car, a used piece of crap, where they have done everything possible to make it look like it's a shiny pearl.
A lot of times you do walk into places where they expect you to try and pick up the turd from the clean end. That is very true.
Newsflash, folks, there is no clean end. So, you actually went for a time, joined the forces of evil, and decided to sell cars for a living. So you know all the ins and outs about it, and we've gotten to the point where I've actually been at dealerships, and I've called you and said, "Should I do this or not?" And typically, you try to push leases on me, and I want to shove that up your butt. But uh, you need somebody who's actually has inside knowledge in a way, in an attempt to get over on these people. But it's like being in Vegas. The house is always going to win. You're never going to get over on them.
More often than not, that is kind of true, and it shouldn't be. And that's why I'm glad that you've called me up when you were at dealerships trying to buy cars, because I do know the ins and outs of that business fairly well. I've held a multitude of positions in the car buying and selling universe, everywhere from being the casual customer all the way up to being the finance guy, who gets you your loan. I've even worked in the credit side of things. So uh, it it can definitely be a really convoluted system, and if you aren't careful, there are people who will do their best to pull the wool over your eyes for their own gain.
When someone puts in front of you, 30 or 40 pages of a contract and says sign here, initial here, sign here, and here, and here, and here, we all know that you're not reading that damn contract. We know that. And they know that. That's the most important aspect of it. And I'm sorry, I know you did it for a living there, Buck, but car salesmen at their core are con men. Before I went to work for the Department of Corrections, I actually got hired by a car dealership. It was in Frederick, Maryland, and I was going through their Automax classes, and I got a phone call right near the end of the week saying, "Hey, would you like to come work for the DOC?" And I said, "Yeah, I would much rather be locked up in a room with 30 to 60 people that want to see me dead. Lot better than selling cars." So I never came back on Monday morning, and I went
Well,
and worked for the prison.
well, I mean, it really does seem like they're all crooks, but I'll be completely frank with you when I say that there are a lot more politicians, lawyers, and judges in jail than there are car salesmen, and it really boils down to the pressure that goes onto those dealerships to meet those quotas, and the penalties that they incur if they don't. And those penalties are tens of thousands and sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars for not meeting a number. So their sole purpose is to hit that number. And a lot of times it really sounds bad, but they'll do whatever it takes to do it. And it's not always about pulling the wool over somebody's eyes. There are a lot of those fly-by-night organizations that go out there and try through any chicanerous means to get somebody to buy a car. Those situations do exist, but a lot of it, you know, you can go into a new car dealership at the end of the month and walk out feeling like you robbed the place because the pressure is so high. So I'm a little slower to call them all crooks, but I definitely will say that there are a large portion of crooks in the rankings of car salesmen.
Yeah, I actually ran into that exact scenario you're talking about. The end of the month, feeling like you robbed them. There was a scenario where I was looking at it was a Kia Sportage. That's what it was. It was a Kia Sportage at a Kia dealership, and I looked at it, and they just could not meet the monthly payment number I wanted without pulling that chicanery of, well, I know you want a 5 year loan, but if we give you a 6 year loan, we can get you pretty close to the payment numbers you want. Unfortunately, that would also add several $1,000s to the price. So bite me, and I told them as much and left. Well, on December 31st, they called me back and said, "Listen, do you still want that car?" I said, "As a matter of fact, I wouldn't mind having that car." "Well, can you come down to the dealership?" "No, it's over an hour away." "Why would I come down there? I'm not going to come down there to argue with you. This is the number I want. Meet the number. Then I'll come down." And within 5 minutes, they met my number. And that number was, I know for a fact they lost money on that sale. They lost money on that car. I know for a fact they did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And during the end of the month, you will get yourself a squeal of a deal. Car dealers have to meet a number, and I'm telling you, taking a $4,000 loss on a car is nothing compared to a $60,000 loss for not hitting your 100% goal. And that 60% loss is in like you've got to pay back probably 60 or $70,000 worth of monies to the dealer to the Toyota dealer
So,
or to the Nissan dealer.
what a lot of people don't realize is we have what's called franchise laws in the United States. Franchise laws are put in place almost strictly for car dealerships, and they're the reason you don't see a Tesla dealership that you have to buy it directly from the manufacturer. The way the laws work, and I'm not a lawyer, and I do not have everything in front of me. I could do an entire documentary on franchise laws, but we come down to the point where, have you ever seen a Ford dealership across the street from another Ford dealership? I can guarantee you
Not
haven't.
one.
I can guarantee you haven't unless they're owned by the same company. Because what they end up doing is they're literally monopolizing certain areas by them buying into these franchises and having the cars directly from their manufacturers. Now, a lot of times those cars, now you can correct me if I'm wrong on this there, Buck, they don't put those that they don't put that money up from to the dealer. I'm sorry, to the manufacturer for the vehicles. That money,
No.
those
No,
vehicles are
they do
there
not.
essentially on commission. So they have
Mm,
to sell
I
X
wouldn't
amount
say
of.
commission, but yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what way to put it, but essentially they're fronted the vehicles. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
That that's a better way of putting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna front. We're gonna front the vehicles to them, and they have certain expectations they have to meet, and they have to sell so many cars a month. Now, they in other industries that sell new and used product, a lot of times the more profitable items are used. Is that the same way it is in the car industry?
That is also correct. Now, to a degree, but continue on with your thought there.
Well, pretty much coming to the end of it, really. So you're kind of, if you want to buy a Ford, you are going down to Harry's Ford dealership because that's the only one within driving distance, unless you're going for a used car, and then you can find buy here, pay here, or whatever nonsensical stuff on every street corner. But if you're actually going to an honest, legit dealership, when I say legit, it's crooked as the day is long, but it's still a dealership. They're that's the only one. You don't have a choice unless you're shopping around between brands. And for some reason, people have this nonsensical ideology that my family's a Ford family. My family only buys Chevys. Well, what have you? So,
Right,
it's
right.
just complete nonsense. But nevertheless, some people that's the way they are, and if you are, whatever, you consider me wrong. But relying on that one single brand is just you're kind of walling yourself in because you don't have an opportunity then to look around and find out what is a better product. I'm all for brand loyalty. I really am. I've had the same car insurance since I was 16 years old, and I could go cheaper, but every time I've ever had a claim, I get it picked up in a heartbeat. So I'm not about to change because the company took care of me. But when it comes to cars, that's like buying. I like white bread, so I only buy Wonder Bread. I'll never buy Italian bread.
Right, right. And yes, yes, you are correct. Now, I will say that they're not right across the street from each other, but you might see two of them. Like, I think there's a distance that they have to be apart. I think it's something like 30 miles or something like that. Between one Ford or one Toyota or one Nissan. I think they all have like mileage caps.
So with all that being said, let's backtrack a little bit and get away from uh, your experience as a salesman, which we are going to talk about in depth. Trust me on that. But what is your absolute worst experience? And give me like what made it the worst experience you ever had buying a car? Because I'm sure somebody listening to this can sympathize.
Well, my ex-wife and I were going to buy a 2003 GMC Envoy because we needed a car that would accommodate two children and all of our stuff. We only had a 2006 Honda Civic. And yeah, we were trading down, and yeah, we were trading a hybrid vehicle for a gas guzzler, and we were already behind the eight ball. I was not happy to go in. I really just I really love that Civic. I didn't want to get rid of it. But um, going in there, we met with a salesman who really didn't listen to anything we had to say and just matched up. It, I have a lot of buyer's remorse from that because I know I could have got or purchased a more sensible vehicle, but I really feel as if we were pushed into that one. And that was the only one that they were trying to pinpoint us at. And they claimed that it was the only one within our budget, and it was the only one for this and the only one for that. So after we bought it and all of its problems, which were so many. Um, it it was just it was a bad purchase the whole way around. We didn't get the loan that we wanted from the bank. My ex-wife had stellar credit. Um, there shouldn't have been a problem with that. And we got nothing but resistance the whole way around, but we really felt like our hands were tied. And, kudos to my ex-wife for being the pit bull that she really is and did not accept anybody's answers for, not fixing the problems that already existed with the vehicle because I would have buckled over and just took it. Whereas she definitely rose to the occasion on that, but it was just all the way around. It was just bad.
We've all had the buying a car. You go in there, and they already know. Yes, you. I'm telling them I'm looking for this kind of car. That don't matter. They already know what kind of car they want to sell me. The one that's going to put the most coin in their pocket, or the one that they're being told by their boss or the manufacturer, this is the car we're pushing right now. So they have every incentive to try to sell you something you don't want. If you happen to want that car, it's just a happy accident. That's they're not there to help you. They're there to help themselves. Now they're going to tell you, "I'm going to take care of you. I'm here for you." Bull crap. They're there to make a dime. I mean, that's all there is. And I'll tell you,
Pretty much.
the really like the shittiest one I ever had was one of the last times I was at a dealership, and the dealership just got taken over by a new manager, and they love telling me, "Oh, we're non-commission based. Everyone here's paid salary. We're non-commission based. We're non-commission based. So it doesn't matter what I sell because I'm not getting that cut of it because we're non-commission based." And I looked that guy right in the eye. I said, "Yeah, you may not be commission based. You may be salary, but look at me honestly and say if you don't sell a certain amount of cars, your ass isn't out of here at the end of the month."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That is correct.
So he instantly shut up and he didn't know what to say. So don't listen to their rhetoric. Anything that comes out of their mouth's a damn lie. Or maybe not a lie, but it's definitely self serving.
In most cases, yeah. In most cases, yes.
And
It,
it's just they're salesmen. I mean, before I went to work for the DOC, like I said earlier, I was in the Automax class because I was going to be a car salesman. And the kind of stuff they were teaching you is not like this is how this kind of paperwork has to be done. These are the laws around this. It was get yourself a CD book and have a CD of like the top 20 country songs, top country rock songs, top 20 R&B songs, and that way when you find out what kind of music they like and you pull the car around, you already have a CD in there playing the music they like. When you go on a test drive, make sure you only make left turns. So, because they make a right turn, they have to think about it, and they'll be more apt to see the blind spot from the A post on the right side. Just stuff like that. That's the stuff they're teaching you right out the gate for selling cars. Not how to do it, lawfully and do it correctly and do it ethically. It's these are the ways that you can manipulate the mind into purchasing something and bending them to your will.
I had a completely opposite training experience, and I'll tell you, it might be because I work for such a large syndicate of car dealers. They had 104 dealerships across the country at the time that I worked for them, and everything that we learned, don't get me wrong. There was this is how you sell a car, this is how you sell a car, but it was all this is how you sell a car legally. This is how you maintain the moral high ground because if you don't, you're fired, and we'll make sure that any lawsuits or damages, they get paid by you. And that is it. So I had a much different experience, but I can definitely, co-sign the fact that there are a bunch of organizations
I
that do focus more.
see what you did there, cosine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh my lord. So
Hey man, you can take the guy off the car lot, but you can't take the car lot out of the guy. I love that job.
actually, I think you
I
did.
just
I
did.
honestly think you did because you have an affinity for interacting with people, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent in the way they're treating you. You still like to interact with them. I don't know why, and that's how you and I differ totally. I don't put up with people's nonsense, and you seem to thrive on
Yeah, but you know what? Our friendship is the definite result of ionic bonding, man. Opposites attracted.
it. So we've talked about what is the worst experience we've had buying a car, but you as a seller, what's the worst customer you've had to deal with?
Oh man.
I'm putting you on the
I would
spot. I
have to
know.
say no, not really, not really, because I actually really enjoyed being around people. So every single customer that I ever had, I never really had a problem with until until. So it's not a specific customer, but I would say that the worst type of customer that I had were the ones that were told something contrary to what I had been, pretty much telling them the whole time by a sales manager. And then the sales manager goes back and does something completely different. And then everything you try to do after that, you are now the car salesman. You are the smarmy, smarmy car salesman. So when somebody would skew the process in a way to make me look like that, that's when I would get terrible customers. Um, you know, if I told them they were going to be getting their 1.9% and they go back and the finance manager's trying to get them 2.9%, it's like no, 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 no. Like that's when things would always get ugly for me.
Well, at that point, you've actually pretty much passed them off. But I mean, do you get a lot of people that
Yeah,
come in there and this was a number of years ago now, so I bet, but smartphones were still a thing. Do you ever have the people
yeah.
come in there and say, "Well, at this dealership, I saw it sell online for this," and they try to get you to price match or anything like that?
Well, I used to get a lot of those people, but it, I really hate to fall back on this, but nobody really argued with me because I was handicapped.
You straight up use the cripple card to sell cars?
I I really, really did, man, because I sold them in South Carolina. It was so hot. Like they'd see me out on the parking lot, and everybody hates going into a dealership. Everybody hates going into the dealership, but not for me, man. I would Tiny Tim every single one of them in there.
Oh my god! Oh, at that point, you still had the double sticks, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
you
yeah.
definitely Tiny Tim in it.
Oh yeah. I really did. One of my finance managers actually nicknamed me Tiny Tim.
Which is hilarious because you're over 6 foot tall.
Yep. But boy, oh boy, and it was the truth though. I'd look at him and I'd be like, listen, whatever price thing you think you have from another dealership, that's great. But it is so hot out here, and I just want to sit down and I want to help you, but I can't do it in this heat. Can we please just go sit down? And they'd look at me and they'd be like, well, yeah, 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 yeah. And we'd just go in there and sit down in a nice air-conditioned office, and they could tell me whatever they wanted to,
Oh my
because,
lord!
at
So
that point,
here's the biggest
yeah.
tip you're going to take away from this podcast, folks. If your car salesman is in a wheelchair, ask for a different car salesman because
No,
they're
actually,
gonna play on the sympathy on you
no,
bad.
actually, quite the contrary, because that I actually used that more to my customers' advantage than I ever did for my dealership. Because I'll tell you what, nobody, every single person who's ever bought a car with me will tell you that it was fast. Because there was none of that negotiating. I didn't go back and forth. No, 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 no. I went to the sales manager and I said, and I would go, this is what they think they're going to pay for this car. Well, you go back and tell them this. I'm like, all right. I go back one time and tell a customer, this is what the sales manager has. And right after that, I would stop the ball. The customer would be like, I'm not paying that. I'd be like, you know what? Write down what you're going to pay. Tell me what you want to pay. I'd go back up to the sales manager and I'd be like, they said that they're not going to pay any more than this. And if you expect me to walk back and forth on my forearm crutches, you are out of your mind. You can go in there and convince that customer to pay this outrageous number for that car. You can go negotiate this because I'm not playing this game. And the sales manager would walk right in there, and the sales manager would negotiate the price to the customer, and I would have a very happy customer because it was quick and easy and not very much time at all for him. All because I wasn't going to walk back and forth. I just wouldn't. I I just I'm not playing that game. I certainly didn't like sitting through it. If I were in the other side of that desk, I wouldn't put up with that crap either. So
Brother, I
I
went
used
through a
uh
scenario with a dealership. It was another Kia dealership. And I went through this scenario back and forth with the little salesman, run over talking to the sales manager. And you could see he was pantomiming, just trying his darndest to make it look as though he was like really advocating for me. Those two are working together. I know that. Don't try to buffalo me.
oh
But
yeah, never with me. I've never played that. Mm-mm.
they had the car I wanted, but they didn't have the color. And I told them, okay, I want this car in black. At the time, for work purposes, odd as that sounds, I needed a car that was of a certain color, and black was one of those colors. And it's like, okay, that's what I want. They didn't have it on the lot. They said this was on a Friday. They said we'll have it here Monday morning. Okay. Monday morning comes rolling around. No car. I'll give them to the afternoon. No car. Next day, no car.
Oh,
Thursday, where the hell is my car? Oh, I don't know when it's going to come in. Well, you can take this deal and shove it up your ass. Oh, we have a contract. Oh, no, we don't.
no, you don't.
They straight up lied and tried to say that I was contractually obligated to take that car whenever the hell they decided to have it show up.
Nope, you are not contractually obligated to shit until your four wheels in the car that you agreed to buy go across that curb. You can pull the trigger at any time. Or not pull the trigger, but yank the rug out.
Unload the gun.
Yes, sir.
There we go. So let's talk about stuff like that, because right there is one of the things that they legit tried to lie and trick me. What do you need to do as a consumer going into a car lot to buy a car? What do you need to do to make sure you don't get taken advantage of by a car dealership?
Well, the first thing that you need to do is hold yourself within the boundaries of reality, because there are some people who think that they deserve, the 850 credit score deal when they got a 450 credit score, and that just ain't happening.
Now you can take your butt down to Pablo's buy here pay here, because you
Yes.
ain't gonna go up to the Rolls Royce dealership and roll out happy.
If you don't have great credit, truly, truly great credit, you are not going to walk out with a truly, truly great deal. The ones that they advertise on commercials and stuff like that, they say in the fine print down at the bottom of the commercials that they are legally, like, mandated to put there that you got to have a certain amount of credit. You got to have a certain amount of this and that. Yeah, they're super quick, and yeah, they're super little, but I mean, like, they got to get you in the door somehow. So, so realistic expectations based upon your own individual credit and finances are the first thing you got to have when you walk into that dealership. Second thing you got to have is, realistic expectations of what you want versus what you need, because when people buy cars, they need to put a marriage between their wants and their needs, because if not, you will have buyer's remorse. You'll find out that, yeah, you got the car that you always wanted, but you can't use it for everything that you want to use it for, because, you know, you didn't think about storage space with everything involved. I mean, like, there are things that pop up. So you gotta do your research and find, look for the car that you truly, like, should have. Because when people go into car dealerships, they tend to lose sight of that really quick, and it turns an otherwise good experience bad quickly. As far as getting cheated goes, you, I'm sorry, there's a sucker born every day. There really is. And to avoid being that sucker, you need to do your research on things like your values. And I don't mean like your core values, like you believe, you know, what you believe in your heart of hearts. No, nobody. I'm not referring to that.
No,
I'm
you need to
talking about
believe what's in your wallet of wallets.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Everybody wants the forerunner, but you know what? Sometimes you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that you're gonna roll out in a Corolla. It's just it. That's just it. You know, um, things like features, flexibility and things like that. Those are arguable things that you should be prepared for, because again, it's not a pack of gum. You want what you want, and if you can't get it, don't get it. Don't pay for something that you don't want. Don't let anybody trick you or convince you to go into something that you don't want to go into. You got to hold your ground. That's a big one. Okay? If you got to have a certain color for whatever reason, well, damn it, stick to that color. Okay? If you got to have the power floor mats, the yogurt maker, and the dual satellite dishes in your car, then make sure you know that A, those things cost money and that you will pay for them. But B, if you have to have them, don't let anybody convince you that you don't. If you're willing to pay for it, damn it, get it. A lot of car dealers try to get you to make concessions because they got to sell what's on the lot first. Okay? That's that's a big thing. That's where a lot of horror stories come from, because car dealers have to sell their stock first. And if they don't, they kind of get the crap end of the stick. Because if they got a dealer trade a car in because you got to have the periwinkle blue and they don't have it on their lot, well, the other dealer gets credit for that number, not the one you sold it from. And that kind of hurts the dealer. So they try to convince you to go otherwise. If you got to have it and you really, really want it, don't settle for less. That's a big one. So
I think primarily you need to go in there with a game plan, and you need to have a certain number that you're willing to pay, and
yes,
just lock it in, man. Don't be flexible
exactly.
on there. Well, it's only
Yes,
$3 more a month. Screw you then. Drop your price. I'm
exactly.
not raising mine. You drop yours.
And you can always wait. The only person who has any power or authority in a car dealership is the customer. You want to know why? Because the customer can say the word no. And once the customer says the word no, the deal is done. There is no more like illusions or concessions or bargaining. Once the customer says no, your sale is dead. And you as the customer have all of that power.
Well, here's another thing too, and this is just things I've learned over the years. And tell me if I'm wrong, because you and I have not discussed this, but I've gone on to lots, and I have made a salesman spend his entire damn day with me. I make him spend the entire day with me. Yeah, it's boring as hell, but I will ruin his day. And when it comes down to time, the real nut cutting time, whether we're going to say yes or no, if I say no, he just lost an entire day's worth of sales. And that sounds like an asshole thing. And it's not something I actually have done intentionally. But I'm very particular and I will not compromise. If I go in there with a number, that is the number I am not coming off of. And I specifically use the term $3 because I have walked away over $3. Now, when I did that, I knew they had my phone number and I knew they would not let me get to the door. And I've actually, done that where I've gotten up and did the power move of walking out and had the sales manager chase me across the parking lot. And when you tell them it's over $3, all of a sudden, maybe we can talk. No, no, tell me right now because I'm not going back inside until you give me what I want. And it's worked.
And it does, and it will. If and now there are times though when there's literally no more room in a car. Like there are stop gaps that even the dealership is not allowed to go past due to, and I always say Toyota because I worked at a Toyota dealership and I loved every second of it. But, if Mr. Toyota says that you can't take any more of this of a loss, then you cannot go any further. A good thing to look at are, you know, there are certain people who just really don't care about features. They're strictly payment buyers, and if you've got a car that fits within the payment, they'll buy. And those are my favorite customers because they're the easiest ones to work with. Because the car that they see and that they like, they can't get in their budget because of that stopgap that the dealership has. But we have the exact same car in a different color that's been on the lot for 100 days, say. And most dealerships have a limit of how long they can keep a new car on the lot before they sell it and have to send it back. And if they send it back, then whoo, you don't want to be the dealer. So they need to get rid of those cars. And those cars, they can go even deeper than the than the limit. The limits increase based on their time on the lot. So you get an older car, and by I say older, I mean like it's been on the lot for 3 months. You're going to get a better deal on it. So there's that to keep in mind too. Yeah, and these aren't sales tricks. These are actually tricks that benefit the consumer. Because if you're not tied to a certain feature or a certain color, and you just really, really need that payment, well, the car you're looking at, you might love it, but there's one that's 60 days older, and now that one fits within your budget. Just remember that your options are open when you go and buy a new car.
Indeed. And another thing that I've noticed is it might be a generational thing. It might just be age, but there seems to be a shift. But it used to be that most of your car salesmen were older males. That's just a reality. Now, you're seeing a shift to the more younger, sexier car dealer, just because that's what people want to see and they're more likely to buy from. But it was, and in some regions still is, dominated older white male demographic as your salesman, and you are definitely going to see, and probably even still so in the younger generation, a lot of sexism. So you'll definitely see
Oh yeah.
men be able to get better deals than women, and my wife can attest to that nonsense. And we've gone into dealerships to look for a car, and they will literally try to divide us. They'll try to, well, let's talk about all these features, and they're talking to her. Then they start talking about money, and they're talking to me. But they're trying to get her to play me to get,
Yes, 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 they do. Yes, they do.
Well, contrary to their thought process, my wife's more likely to tell you to go F yourself than I am.
Yes, she is, and yes, she is.
What are you saying? What are you saying, Buck? You talking?
Your wife is a pearl, and I love her with every fiber of my being, and please don't hurt me, and you're great.
She's not here right now.
Yeah, but she might listen later, and she knows more than I d- I fear her. Leave me alone.
Oh, jeez. But her and I have gone in there. We've actually come up with game plans beforehand. We have a number. We're not coming off that number. She does the research. She knows exactly what um, the cars are selling for in the region. She's a researcher by trade. She will research the hell out of it, and she knows what the price we're going to pay before we go in there. And if they're not willing to meet that price, screw them. We're done.
I think it's funny, and I'll definitely confirm the fact that you and your wife are a powerhouse together. Like even if it looks like you aren't agreeing on something, it's because you planned it that way. And and you guys definitely plan ahead and work with each other amazingly.
Is that it? You just wanted to blow sunshine up my ass?
No, I'm more so trying to get favor with your wife because I made her sound like a monster earlier, and she's such a great person, and I think that she deserves some accolades.
So you want to blow sunshine up her ass?
Yes.
So, if the one, what's the most important thing? If you had to impart on somebody going out to buy a car, what is the most important thing that you'd have to tell them?
Well, it's all going to start with finding a salesman that you enjoy working with. And if you can do
So you're
that,
already doomed already because I don't enjoy car salesmen.
well, unfortunately, you are doomed. But you got to find the closest thing to common ground with the salesman that you're working with. And if you can do that and create some sort of genuine connection with the person actually helping you buy this car, then you will definitely walk out a winner. It's when you resist or work against or go in with an attitude against car salesmen in general that you will find more resistance. And nobody, I'm telling you, people are a lot smarter than they give themselves credit for in most situations. And under ideal circumstances, you're not going to let somebody take you for a ride to begin with, or sell you something to begin with. You're not. Just don't go in there and get treated like an idiot. Stick to your grounds and stand up for your convictions, and you'll be fine.
So the biggest thing I look for when I'm looking for a car dealership, I want to see the damn price on the window.
That means nothing.
No, it means something to me. I want to look around. I don't want you breathing down my damn neck, trying to make small talk with
Okay.
me and everything else, because you have the magical list in your back pocket that you won't give to me. So that I ask about a car and you have to start telling me all about the damn car without giving me the price. Instead of having the damn thing on the window so I can just look around, Yeah, I know you're going to come up to me because you got to establish, yep, this is my customer because it's my turn, or however the rotation works at that particular lot. But fine, you've established it. You are the salesman I'm going to deal with. Where will you be? I will come find you when I want information. Go away. I want to see the damn numbers on the car. I have literally, and I know it pisses them off, rolled around a car lot in my car, not getting out, with the windows up, because I don't want to talk to them. I want to see what cars they have available that I'm interested in talking to them about before I have them crawling halfway up my ass trying to sell me the featured vehicle on the showroom floor.
Oh man, you know what? There's such an easy way to avoid that. There's such an easy way to avoid that. And when you drive onto the car lot, the first thing you should do is look at the front row. Don't look at the cars. Don't look at any window stickers. Just look at all the salesmen that you see outside the store. Look at one of them and say, when I'm ready to talk numbers with somebody, I'm going to look for you. And then drive away. And once you are claimed by somebody, once a car salesman says, that's my customer, no one else will talk to you. The reason why they come out and try to act all smarmy and everything like that is because of, like you said, there is no rotation. Whoever takes the customer out, whoever the customer requests to work with, whoever spends time or makes first contact with the customer, that's the person who gets the sale. So that's why they come out and hound you like that. If you just go up to the car lot and immediately go, when I'm ready to test drive, you're the guy I'm talking to. I'm going to go look at window stickers. I'll come and find you. If you say that, no problems whatsoever. Or if you don't want to go that route, if they come up to you, just say you have an appointment with another salesman and be done with it. You can do that.
I get it.
Because
I get it. But there are definitely those lots where they will not tell you the damn price of the car.
oh no, those lot I would shy away from that lot completely. If they don't have a price on the window, that do not engage.
Abort, abort, abort mission.
Abort. That's called a Monroney label. And those labels are legally mandated to be on every single car, whether it be used or new or anything. They gotta have that Monroney label. If they don't have a price on the window, do not engage.
See, I didn't know that they legally had to have it on there.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So, what information has to be on a Moroni label?
Monroney label's got to have everything about the car, the transmissions, all of it. You know, the window sticker.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's going to have the MSRP of the vehicle and what they are selling it for. And those two numbers are always going to differ because if it's like a model that's got like a special GPS or something like that, it's going to reflect on the Monroney label and it's going to increase the price from the MSRP to whatever they're selling it for. So if you see an MSRP is say 25 grand, but the sale price of the car is, 27, it's because it's got added features on there, or it might be even a special paint color or something like that. But the Monroney label will disclose every single reason and discrepancy behind the price of the car.
You see, Buck, that's the kind of information we need. We need the legalese. So, what other legal requirements or somewhat shady practices have you seen or heard of occurring? Because none of them happened on your lot. We know that.
Well, listen, it's really difficult to monkey around with a new car. A lot of the tricks and stuff like that come from used cars, and although I've sold a few, I don't have a lot of experience with used car sales. I will say that um, they will sometimes forget or leave off disclosures about things that are wrong with the vehicle because a Monroney label for a used car has to fully disclose anything that is not fixed or repaired or that may be wrong with the vehicle.
Like it was in a flood.
Yes. Well, I mean, like it'll have to say something to that effect. But yes, if it's damaged, why it's damaged, what hasn't been repaired, all of that stuff. It's kind of like, your buyer beware label on a used car.
Well, and also, you need to also research your state too, because as is
Exactly.
may not mean as is. There's lemon laws that vary from state to state, so you need to do your research and make sure you're actually know what you're doing before you actually purchase the car, not after you've got yourself a hunk of metal sitting in the front yard.
Yeah, and Monroney label is not on a used car. They're called buyer's guides. I forgot about that. It's called a buyer's guide. On a used car, the label that's taped onto a used car will be a buyer's guide, and that's supposed to disclose everything about that vehicle.
Outstanding. And I think the final thing I got to warn people about is if it's a buy here, pay here place, yeah, just just prepare your anus, take some lube with you, because it ain't gonna end well.
No, no, it will not. Buy here, pay here's don't even have respect in the. They have they don't even have the respect of disrespectful car salesmen.
Yeah, I mean, when I left the prison system, I actually did vehicle repossessions for a while in Baltimore, D.C., and Harrisburg of all places, and I learned many things. The Chevy Cruze was the most repoed car because people got talked into buying that piece of crap. A lot of buy here, pay here places made their money off selling the same car to multiple people and hoping that it gets repoed so they could sell it again. I literally towed a car, and then about a month later, I went somewhere else, nearby, but somewhere else, and I picked up the same damn car. I had to go back and look at my log and just verify it was the same VIN number. Different client, different everything. But those buy here, pay here places, they hope that you that they get so much money out of you before you default, so they can repo it and sell it again. And
Yep.
and a lot of those buy here, pay here places, they're just going to auctions and saying, "All right, that one's low enough, I'll buy it," and then just throwing it in the lot. They're not. It might run enough for a test drive anyhow. And a lot of times when you have, and this people that sell cars know this, you pop the battery terminals off. Um, Guess what? The warning lights go away, and they'll stay off for a little while until the car's driven a couple miles. So as long as they keep the test drive short, those warning lights ain't gonna pop up.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
So those buy here, pay here places. I mean, there. Unfortunately, they're a necessary evil for some people that depending on their financial situation or their credit history. So they're never going to go away because they're going to be there. But like check cashing places, which are in some cases necessities, they are predatory by nature.
Yep. And I said it earlier, there is a sucker born every day, and that's why these places still thrive.
So typically in these podcasts, we bitch, moan, and complain, and this is more or less almost like a buying guide for a car, from an inside perspective, mostly Bucks. But and me complaining, so I mean, he's defending the car industry a little bit here, and I
A
can't
little
blame
bit.
him
A
because he.
little bit. A little bit.
But I think we have some new topics coming up. We're getting into our stride on here, I think, and we have some ideas for new episodes coming out. But we always like to hear your ideas about what two middle-aged grumpy guys can complain about. And if you have any ideas, please leave them in the comment section or contact us at socialliability@icloud.com. And you can listen to us on just about every podcast platform available right now. I think the only one we have left, Buck, is iTunes, and that should be in the very near future. We'll be on there as well. But you can catch us on Castbox, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor, and even on YouTube, for that matter, because all of our shows are uploaded onto the Mount Moon Crew YouTube channel, where you can check out other podcasts of a nerdy nature and less adult oriented, but nevertheless fun. So, other than that, we'll see you on the next episode of the Social Liability Podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it.